Hi there, it's Miracle. It's time for my February/Femmeuary wrap-up, and also in the end of this video, I will announce the winner of the giveaway that I hosted 2 weeks ago, so stay tuned for that. I was in such a great reading mood in February. Although I still didn't complete all the books I planned on my TBR, I still enjoyed my reading very much, and I read in total of 8 books, including 1 poetry collection, 2 non-fiction books, 1 short story collection, and also 4 novels. The poetry collection I read is Why God is a Woman by Nien Andrews. I read this poetry collection because of the recommendation of Campbell, who is a lovely booktuber, and I believe that you all have already subscribed to her. But I will still link her channel down below as my way of saying I love you and your videos very much. And spoiler alert, you will hear the name Jane Campbell multiple times in this video. And Jane adores this book, and I'm so happy that I followed her advice because I thoroughly enjoy the reading experience of this poetry collection. This is actually a prose poetry collection. It is a literature format between prose and poetry. So you got the poetry written in paragraphs, and also you got a fiction narrator in this book. It is a man living in this island where women are rule the world. So men basically don't have any rights and living as minorities in the society. And you can see that they are suffering from all kind of gender issues, such as devalue themselves and body shaming, and don't have role models, and the constant worry about sexual assault. Those issues actually mirrored our real world, so I feel very uncomfortable at times, but I think it is the point of this poetry collection. My favorite poem in this collection is called On the Island Where I Grew Up for Emily Lasker. The last sentence of this poem was, No one, not even our mother, with all her magic, could stitch us together again. And then I read a very small book called We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This is a text of her same-name TED Talk. This is a very inspiring little book about feminism, and after reading this, I actually recalled a period of time in my life. There's a very trendy word called tough girl or manly girl if you translate it direct from Chinese. And we didn't give it a lot of thoughts, and we like to call us manly girl as if we can be stronger by that way. But after times, when I start to think about the concept, I of course realized that how wrong I was. But more importantly, I realized that we can be tough and strong with all the femaleness that we have. So I really like when Ngozi Adichie said, I have chosen to no longer be apologetic for my femininity, and I want to be respected in all my femaleness. Next nonfiction that I read is Lab Girl by Hope Yaron. This is her memoir talking about being a female scientist and her relationship, especially with her co-worker. And I heard a lot of amazing things about this book, so I really look forward to it. Unfortunately, it was a mediocre book for me. Hope Yaron is a paleobiology, so this book is written by 1 chapter of her life story and another chapter of the plant study and earth study kind of alternate way. And I heard people really enjoy the plant study and earth study part, but maybe because I was listening to the audiobook, so I always found myself lost and not interested in that part. And maybe also because I have a close friend who is also a female scientist, so I kind of familiar with the struggles and the difficulties in academia. With the award-winning scientist writing her memoir, I kind of expect more from her stories, but I didn't get enough. So I give this book 3 out of 5 stars. The short story collection I read is The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night by Jane Campbell, who is the lovely person that I mentioned in the beginning of this video. This is a very magical and peculiar short story collection, or we better to say that it is a fairy tale collection. And you got unachievable love, unanswered questions, unreturned flowers, and also at the back cover said, you got lost souls. I enjoy reading this book very much, and maybe because I watched too many of Jen's videos, in the whole time that I was reading this book, I feel like Jen was talking to me. I feel like that I can hear her voice, which I know that saying it aloud makes me seems like really creepy, but I think you all understand. And I want to say that I was reading this book in an afternoon in a coffee house that is far away from my home. And when I was reading it, I saw a little rainbow between the pages. But when I put my phone out to catch it, it was gone. Maybe my phone was blocking the sun, but it was really magical. So that I think the magical rainbows between pages is a great summary for this book. The first novel that I read is called Mrs. Pettigrew Lives for a Day by Winfield Watson. It is published by Persephone Books, and it is such a cozy and delightful read. I think it's a kind of story that you can easily enjoy with a cup of maybe hot chocolate in the winter or under the shade of the tree in the summer. The novel is about a woman, of course, called Mrs. Pettigrew, who is a governess, and she went to her client's house for chores one day and entered a crazy life for a bunch of crazy people. By crazy people here, I don't mean the people are actually crazy, just they have the life that Mrs. Pettigrew cannot imagine. So without any intention, Mrs. Pettigrew ended up helping the people with a lot of things in 24 hours. And this book was very easy to get into. However, I have to say, in the middle of the book, there were 1 or 2 chapters that I feel like a bit of repetitive and boring. But because of the chapter was fairly short, so you quickly get over it and went into more exciting ones. So I ended up really enjoying this book and gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next novel I read is for the book club Charles & Co pick of February, and the theme of February is actually women in translation, so we voted to read a book translated from Chinese, and the book was The Last Quarter of the Moon by Chi Zijian. And in order to discuss with all my lovely book club members, I decided to read this book in English. This book was all about the ethnic group called Evenki in China. If you don't know, we have 56 ethnic groups in China, and I belong to the largest ethnic group called Han, and the Evenki is one of the smallest ethnic groups. The Evenki people was lived as nomadic tribes when the story happened in this book. This story was told from one woman's perspective, and she was the wife of their tribe's last chieftain. And this is actually a family saga, so you got the story from her parents' generation and herself and her children and her grandchildren's. And it's talking about the tribe's people's interactive with nature and also their religion, and also how their life changed because of the Second World War and the government's change in the first half of 20th century in China. I enjoy reading this book very much, and because I don't know a lot about the Evenki group, so I also learned a lot. And the language of this book were beautiful and poetic. It's a kind of slice of day story, and although it's a fiction, but it's written in the format of a memoir, so I often forgot it's a fiction book and I always thought it was true. There were many births and deaths in this book, and in the beginning of my reading, I feel very sad because I think the writing of the births and deaths were too easy. But after reading the whole story, I have like a whole new level of respect for the births and deaths because of their beliefs of the Evenki people and also because their relationship with the nature. I mentioned this book in my Cozy Reading Night vlog, and some of you guys seems very interested in this book, and I'm really happy about it. But I have to say, I don't think this book is for everybody, and I can imagine some people saying it's too slow or too boring. And in fact, in our book club, I believe there was at least one person who didn't like this book. So I recommend this book to you if you are not afraid of slow reading, and also if you are like to dive into a book for a whole chunk of time. But if you are an action-driven reader and also a fast-paced lover, I would suggest you to do more research before you read this book. And by the way, after I read this English version, I skimmed the Chinese books online, and as far as I can tell, I think the translation was really good for this book. The next book I actually read in Chinese, and it is 芳华百言歌林. The title, if you translate from Chinese to English directly, is called Youth, but the movie adaptation of this book is called You Touched Me. And I have read this book because of the movie adaptation, and I have to say, oh my god, this book is way better than the movie. It talked about the art trope of Chinese army during the Cultural Revolution, and I couldn't find the word for art trope in army, so how do you call that? Please let me know in the comment. The story was focused on multiple people in the art trope. However, it mainly focused on a man called Liu Feng, who is a very warm-hearted man, and he spent a lot of his time helping other people, but he made a mistake and was betrayed by all of his so-called friend. This book will make you think about the cruel of Cultural Revolution when people are afraid of telling the truth and they are willing to do anything to harm others in order to protect themselves. And the last novel I finished was Winter by Alice Smith. This is the second book in Alice Smith's seasonal series, and she wrote the series with the intention to reflect the current world political condition. The first book, Autumn, was written right after UK voted to leave EU, and this book was all focused on fake news. The story in this novel was happened a few days around Christmas, but you got a lot of reflection from the past. And in the beginning of the world, in the beginning of the book, you found Sophia is waiting for her son, Arthur, and her son's girlfriend Charlotte to come back for holiday weekends. However, she was also talking to a floating head in her vision, which nobody else can see. And her son, Arthur, who is short for Art, had this big fight with his girlfriend, so he has nobody to bring home. So he ended up hired a random girl on the street and paid her to be Charlotte for a few days. So it's very interesting because you can see all the people in this book are hiding part of their identities, which make the truth fake and the fake true. I loved two book reviews about this book. One is from Campbell, another is from Jenifer over at In There the Literature Pun Here. I'll link their reviews down below, and I highly recommend you check it out. I wish I have enough knowledge about literature and UK to do a book review as good as theirs, but I'm limited here. But fortunately, we can enjoy their reviews. But I will say that I initially gave this book 3 stars, but after a few days, I feel like the story was haunting me, so I raised my stars to 4 stars in a good way. And that's all for the 8 books that I read in February, and now we're on to something more exciting. It's the giveaway winner announcement. I have to say a big thank you to everybody who watched my Chinese New Year giveaway video and who entered the giveaway. I had so much fun reading about your comments about your New Year tradition, and I learned a lot. I picked the winner using a YouTube comment random picker right after midnight on March the 3rd, and the winner was Beatrice Mello. Congratulations, and please email me your address and we can discuss what books you want to choose from Book Depository. And that's all the 8 books that I read in February. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please let me know what book you read in February and do you recommend them. More importantly, happy reading! See you next time. Bye!